All right, let's get into some fun stuff. So because I cannot help myself and I tangent all over the place, I cannot keep to like specifically just one thing without tangenting off into other things. I have already talked about a lot of these things, but I'm gonna go through some of the struggles that I had and then talk about all of the exciting stuff, like the little things that keep me going when I'm having a rough time, or you know, the stuff that really gets me excited and then gets me through the rough times, and why I don't think I will give up like I did with Japanese. I don't know, Japanese was just too frustrating for me. To be fair, I haven't specifically known about immersion method, whatever thing. Like I haven't gotten into learning how to learn language that long yet. So yeah, I will conquer Japanese one day. I shall conquer it. And I am very much hoping that Korean is going to help me do this because grammar structure is actually similar. Anyway, and there's overlapping vocabulary, but stuff that I struggle with. All right. Hangul. 2 fucking weeks. 2.5. Who takes 2 weeks to learn Hangul? Nobody. Nobody takes that long. Okay? Don't get discouraged. I literally just talked about it before, but just again to like emphasize and reiterate it. Hangul took me forever. It's fine. You'll get there. Reading speed is very frustrating. So I love reading. I'm a huge bookworm. I love fiction reading, specifically fantasy and sci-fi are my faves in English. I love to escape into different worlds. It's kind of part of my person. I mean, I have mermaid hair, so it's kind of part of my personality. I love world building. I love character building. I love reading about characters and that are different and worlds that have societies that work similarly or differently. I love urban fantasy specifically, which is probably why I'm such a huge Harry Potter nerd. I love most of the books that I've read are at least fantasy related or sci-fi. So yeah, I'm really excited to get into that, but it's very hard. So having a very slow reading speed is super frustrating for me. I do love that I can now, thanks to Cloudy, thank you so much, seriously, honestly. 진짜요. 감사합니다. Thank you so much for like pointing me towards the Harry Potter audiobooks in Korean, because even though I am reluctant to give J.K. Rowling any more money, this particular one is awesome because the subscription is actually for the entire app and not the audiobook specifically. So it's kind of like a subscribe thing and then you can listen to whatever, which is I love it. Thank you. I really love reading along to audio. So it really speeds up. It makes it less frustrating for me to read. I also think I'm getting a lot out of it because I am getting like double input where I can see what the word is spelled like and listen to it being pronounced. And I think it's helping hugely with building my inner Korean voice, if that makes sense, you know, to be able to pronounce things in my head properly when I read them. And yeah, my brain recognizes words faster if they're being said and I can read them at the same time. What I mean by that is I actually recognize the meaning of the word often like faster if I listen and read it at the same time. So it's very cool. It's also great for checking the flow and things, even like of things that are read, like where are the pauses, how's the intonation going, etc., all of that stuff. I like that. But reading alone is still a struggle. I'm very, very slow at it. I have phases where I get super frustrated and depressed and impatient. I'm generally always very hard on myself. I'm a perfectionist. I like to excel. I don't like to lose. I like to win at things. I am very hard on myself. I have very high expectations usually of myself, not of other people. Always of myself. I kind of struggle sometimes letting go of that really unhelpful, oh, I should be doing better than I am thing. Lately, I've gotten better at it, probably because at the moment I'm really so excited that I have these moments where I listen to something and I'm like, I just understood like 5 sentences in a row, no problem. And it gets me so hyper. I'm just like, yes. So at the moment, I'm good, but I know, like, you know, as everything, it goes up and down. Motivation goes up and down. In fact, I had an entire month where I didn't do anything. several, I think, last summer, because I'd already started in March, and then I went on a holiday, family holiday, and I couldn't do anything because we were traveling around and blah, 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 blah. I think I managed to kind of half keep up with my Anki, but for like a solid month or two, I didn't even get any immersion in, which is bad. The month of February, actually my birthday month, I was pretty bad as well. Stuff was busy and things. Actually, I had 2 months in the summer because I moved apartment as well. This is a new apartment. Anyway, I had another month in February randomly where like the one thing that I did keep going with is watching K-drama. So I don't know, some people might be like, oh, this doesn't count because you watch it with like native subtitles, but it's still immersion. It's still some type of input. It is not the most efficient of input, but at least I did something every day. Or I would listen to like one Yagi or something. But there was an entire month in February where I had a bad month. But funnily enough, sometimes taking these breaks, I end up coming back and like more intensely focusing on Korean again. And all of a sudden my comprehension has like randomly jumped up for like no reason. It's really weird. I think sometimes you need to take breaks. Like it's not bad to like kind of take a break from like actively trying to cram stuff into your head and just kind of let it sit and simmer a little bit, at least for me. But yeah, I have a hard time. I am impatient, and sometimes I'm listening to people speak that have been doing it for, I don't know, only for 4 years or something, and I'm like, oh, I just want to be there already. But it's cool. At the same time, I have a big advantage because I know that it takes a while. I mean, I have been speaking English for a very long time now, but I didn't, get this fluent in English overnight. It takes time. But I do have a very real experience on my own body, my own brain, I don't know, that I know that immersion is like the shit. It's the best thing to learn language. And reading specifically, I know that reading Korean book language is a lot more different to spoken Korean than book English is to spoken English. Although like it's pretty huge, depends on how thick your accent is. But I still believe that reading is the shit because you get so much vocabulary and special vocabulary that just kind of like sits in your brain. For me, it's the best. So it's very frustrating to me that my reading speed is so slow and I haven't crested that, like, I'm kind of like, somewhere in the lower intermediate range, maybe upper beginner, lower intermediate, I don't know. Somewhere I'm kind of hovering there. It's gonna take a while until I get out of it. What else? Related. Spelling. Can't spell for shit. That's slightly frustrating. I have already talked about this. This will become a huge source of frustration when I start to actually do like diary stuff and taking notes, because at that point I believe my mentalese Korean will be fairly advanced already, and I will not know how to write the simplest words, because as efficient as Hangul is and as awesome as the writing system is, there are still things that are pronounced certain ways where, like, if there's a double pachim, for example, and things like that, you don't know unless you know how to spell the word. You can learn some spelling from reading only, but it's not going to unless you actually write, you're not going to learn how to write. So that's gonna be fun. Yeah. On the bright side, I'll mostly be able to concentrate on learning how to spell stuff versus having to divide my attention between learning the meaning and the spelling at the same time, which I think is more efficient. Similarly with the speaking, right? The more I understand, the easier I figure it will be to activate my passive vocabulary, as you call it, stuff that I can understand but doesn't necessarily come automatically yet. The more I think about it, the more I think about immersion and the way language acquisition works through immersion, everything makes so much more sense to me. Of course, if you learn how to understand stuff, the more you understand, the more you will be able to then use. And even if your pronunciation is behind, at least you don't have to concentrate on learning new vocabulary and learning new words while you're also on top of it trying to force your mouth into shapes that it's never made before. So I kind of like this. It's almost like a one after the other approach instead of everything at the same time, which makes sense that it's much faster. I really truly believe that I will learn how to write and speak fairly quickly, much quicker than the whole getting my comprehension up to a reasonable level. I mean, I will, of course, you never stop learning, right? I still learn new English words. My favorite one that I recently learned is petrichor, which is the smell of rain. Nobody uses this word, sadly. I wish it was a word that was used, but new word. Anyway, so looking forward to that. Overall, I think it'll be easier and faster, but I mean, we'll see. We'll do another update in like a year, probably. Maybe 6 months, so the video isn't quite as long. I don't know. Pronunciation. Oh God. Oh God, I've already talked about this. I'm not gonna elaborate even more. You know what's up. I'm just the cringe. The cringe is real. But again, I do believe that is something I will be able to learn fairly quickly later on with practice. I will still have a foreigner accent, that's fine. But in general, I'm a little bit of an accent chameleon. Right now, my accent is a bit fucked up because I'm back in Vienna. So all of my friends that I speak to who are we have this weird tendency of speaking English, although, I mean, I guess it's because not all of us are fluent in German or like to speak German. We have this international kind of friend group, and I tend to adapt to the accent or even dialect that is spoken by the people I am surrounded with. So when I was studying in Manchester, my illustration degree, I started sounding like a northern, Midland northern-ish, like a Manc, basically. I started sounding like I was from Manchester, which I was not super happy about because, look it up, it is not the prettiest of English accents. Then I went to study in Canada, in Vancouver, and I had a Canadian accent almost immediately. With my accent is all over the place. Like there's some words I pronounce the British way and some words I pronounce the Canadian way, and then it's weird. I went to work in Germany for a year, but my industry is mainly English speaking, so I was still speaking English, but there were people from everywhere, so I think I still kept kind of my neutral sort of Canadian-ish accent there. I kind of feel like this Northern American clear English is sort of a neutral English, I guess, at the moment. Then I went to work in London for almost, 7 months. Immediately adapted a London accent, like immediately sounded British again. It happens. And I don't do it on purpose, you know. And then I went to Montreal, to Canada, so I had a Canadian accent again, and now I'm in Vienna. I'm starting to kind of say certain things and with like this intonation or even with some Austrian intonation, like some German intonation in there, because it's kind of wow. Massive tangent. Anyway, I don't think I will have a huge problem. It's gonna be fine. I might have a foreigner twang like for a very long time, depending on how, hard I concentrate on getting my pronunciation up to scratch. But I'm usually somebody who likes to sound as native as possible, or at least ambiguous, so they don't really know where I'm from. Usually when I speak English, people assume I'm a native speaker, but depending to the nationality of the person that I speak to, they guess something else, like where I am from, because it's clear that I'm not from where they're from, but the English is good enough to like be kind of ambiguously native from somewhere. So it's very funny. Anyway, it's gonna be fine. Other stuff that I have struggles with, wanting to dive into more advanced material, any level of material that's not specifically made for learners or like slightly lower level, and that being out of reach. So adult material that I really am interested in, that I want to read, because that's where the real magic happens, when you start to be able to really, I don't know, I want to be able to watch YouTube, like vlogs and stuff. That's still out of reach for me. Like material that I haven't familiarized myself with first in English is still tough. Some of them, like V Lives, for example, watching the lives of the idols on that app. That's okay, but there's repeating patterns, right? They talk about food, working out, their schedules, wishing their fans good luck on exams and how much they love them. And that's like, most of the topics that are being covered in V Lives. And then, there's special events or a comeback or something. Oh, and music, Sundays and stuff. They talk about their seniors and other artists' music and their own music and things. So the vocabulary tends to repeat, and it's like fairly easy usually to kind of, I don't know. So it got boring after a while. I stopped watching V Lives. But I'm getting there. But it's definitely a source of frustration. I want to be able to read more novels. I want to be able to read more native material. I want to be able to engage with more native material already, because that's where the magic happens. As soon as I'm already starting to get there, I can enjoy more and more, like all of the podcast. I don't listen to English podcasts anymore. Except if it's Sponge Mind, and I listen to the English part and then the Korean part. But if I listen to an audiobook or a podcast, it's going to be in Korean. So I've already made like the full-time switch there. I still watch tons of YouTube in English. I still watch tons of, actually I don't watch any English series, but I have English subtitles with series and that type of stuff. When I search something on Google, etc., it's in English, not in Korean. I can't do the monolingual dictionary yet. I have to look it up in English, all of that kind of stuff. So these little things, the more you do in your target language, the faster, or the more, you know, well, the more exposure you get, the more you're going to learn. I know this from my English journey, because at the time when I decided to just read and watch everything in English, my comprehension level was at a level where that was a thing that was possible to do. I could also look things up in English, etc. I wasn't looking things up in German and stuff. So even though I was terrible at academic English and I couldn't speak for shit, my comprehension level was high enough in order for me to do that. And that's the magic. That's where the magic happens. Right? So I wasn't fluent yet. I wasn't able to properly, fluently speak yet, but my comprehension was high enough thanks to the grueling studying at school and some reading in there. I had enough input to have a high enough comprehension level in order for me to just everything. I switched my life to English. The result is I speak better English than German. So I'm just like, just kind of crawling my way to that point, because I know like the moment I can read most of the novels and stuff, and I have to only look up maybe, you know, a word every few sentences or so, that's the magic sauce. I am going to just like skyrocket. It's already speeding up though. I believe it's really hard to measure because I don't really measure like how many words do I know or stuff anymore, but I can tell that I'm getting better all the time just by virtue of how much I understand. But yeah, that's still a frustration. So not being able to engage with the material I really want to engage with. Anki, fuck. I don't mind pre-made Anki decks when they're well made. As I said, the retro decks are I love them. But I will drop Anki the moment I can because I hate making cards. I can't, it's not fun. It's just not fun for me. I'm just yeah, I can't. All of you Anki pros out there, cool, but it's not for me. And yeah, having learned English without Anki, I know that it is absolutely, completely possible to acquire a very vast breadth of vocabulary without ever touching Anki. So I'm not too worried about it. Consistency, yes. Life stuff happens. It does. So I've slacked off, as I said before, a month or two here and there. It happens. Don't worry about it. It's especially difficult, of course, during holidays or if you're moving or job. Like I think my immersion time is going to get vastly reduced in the next probably 4 to 5 months, because I have a pretty huge project for work coming up. A freelance project, and it's going to need most of my attention because the deadline is very tight. It's very tight. And it's awesome, and I needed to give it my entire attention. I'm already starting to kind of go down. Thankfully, I've also started to work out, as I've mentioned before, and that is the perfect time to get some immersion in, because I'm running occasionally, and so I'll just pop in some podcasts or something. Although I think I will always continue to watch K-drama unless I like really super lose interest, which I can't see happening because there's so many awesome stories. I don't know. It depends. Like, it's not going to be super effective because I will still have English subtitles on. As I said, I like really can't tolerate the ambiguity yet in K-dramas. I'm such I need to know what happens exactly and what is being said. I'll actually talk about this in the next section, but there's some stuff that's starting to be really cool. But yeah, it's fine. Yeah, I already talked about that. Monolingual dictionary transition. I wish I was there. I'm not there yet. I keep coming back to that, but I wish I had the discipline to just turn off the English subtitles. I mean, my excuse is that I work in the film industry and I'm a story person and I need to know what I can't. I'm super appreciative of, you know, good scripts and things like that. It's just, I can't, it's hard. Funnily enough, with podcasts and things, I don't mind. I don't mind the ambiguity. So I guess if you have similar troubles, find the medium where it works, because I feel like it's not the same everywhere. Also, when I'm reading, I have a way higher tolerance of unknowns than I do watching drama. I'm such a film person. I need to know what's happening. I can't deal with it. But when I listen to something like in the background, or I have like books and audio plays or audiobooks, because I have my own head cinema, I think. I don't know why. I think it's because I have my head cinema. I don't mind it so much. I'm already imagining so many things that it like doesn't matter that much if I miss a few things. Whereas when I see something and I don't understand what I see because I can't understand what's being said, that drives me nuts. I can't take it. So I don't know. It's weird. YouTube, similarly, I really want to start watching stuff without subtitles, though I have occasional like points of radiance where that is possible. But funnily enough as well, I'm starting to have a creeping suspicion that I actually understand more than I think I do. My brain is still too slow to register what the meaning is of what has just been said, that by the time the meaning arrives, we're like several sentences in further, and I don't have the patience to like hear a sentence, stop the thing, wait for my brain to catch up what has just been said, and then continue. But I think I actually understand a lot more than I think I do, because there are moments where I like realize that I'm watching something, and like a couple of sentences later my brain goes, oh, you understood that thing that was just said 3 sentences earlier, by the way. So it's weird. Yeah. All right. Let's do some really exciting stuff, which is the things that make it worth it for me. The things that keep me going. The adrenaline stuff, or the endorphin boosts, right? And